Welcome to Slay the Gatekeeper. I'm your host, Courtney Johnson, and I am here to ungatekeep the gatekept. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy. Kaisha, welcome.
Hi.
So happy to have you here.
So happy to be here.
Kaisha, we're going to ungatekeep some spicy cheat codes today.
Ooh, I love spice.
They're very spicy. I would say spicy, controversial, triggering, maybe.
Yeah. Love that. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Okay, so your first cheat code is that your body will intuitively reject your partner if they're not the right person for you. Ooh, what does that mean?
I know. That's a tough one. Every time I say this, people are like, what? Hear me out. Okay. So when I was in multiple toxic relationships, every single time I would get UTIs. I would get strep throat. I would get BV, like just these crazy things. And like, I know everyone's like, well, he was just cheating on you. Like, obviously, Karen, he probably was. But like, do you know what I'm saying? He was toxic and like, that's what would happen every single time. Mm-hmm. Now, the partner that I'm with, I've never had a fucking UTI in my life. Like, once I found a partner that was like good for me, like balanced out my nervous system, I never had any physical issues. Mm-hmm. So anytime I've had friends that have been like getting like a UTI after UTI, like yeast infections, BV, I'm like, I think it's your boyfriend. And 9 times out of 10, they're always cheating. I get it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, but that's the
point.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, your body is literally telling you that man is out there doing something. He's in the streets.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, because like the pH of like the other girl's pussy and your pussy together doesn't match.
It's not vibing. I don't know. I don't know the science behind it, but like energy-wise, yeah, totally. It's like his soul telling on him. Isn't that wild?
Oh, what the fuck? Oh my god. That's definitely happened to me. I've been in some relationships where it was like UTI.
Yeah.
Bacterial vaginosis. Over and over and over.
Yes. One time I had strep throat. So I've grown up like getting strep like as a kid, right? One time, I am not kidding you, I get the worst strep I've ever had in my entire life. My throat was like swelled up like a frog. I go to the doctor. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. They look at my throat. They're like, they had to test me for mono because it was just like TMI, pus pockets all the way down the back of my throat. And they were like, this is the most like severe case I've ever seen. So they gave me like obviously a strong antibiotic. Well, what happened a few weeks later, I found out, wow, this man is toxic and he's been in the streets. So I'm telling you, if you're getting these chronic illnesses over and over and over and over again, like please look at your partner.
I did date someone one time and the whole time we dated, I was like kind of fat.
Yeah, see? Yes. I'm telling you, your body
and then we
holds
broke
on
up
to
and I got
weight.
Skinny.
Yes.
Literally, my body was like, he's not for you, girl.
Yeah. Your body was like holding on to, so it's interesting. Your body will hold on to extra fat to protect you. So like maybe it wasn't necessarily him, but maybe he made you feel a certain way about yourself and you're beating yourself up. So maybe he would tell you like, oh, your butt's not big enough, your boobs aren't big enough, your stomach's not, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it made you subconscious. And so then your self-image went down and then you're beating yourself up and then your body puts on extra fat to protect you.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
That is really interesting.
The body's always communicating with us.
Yeah, we just need to fucking listen.
I know, we need to listen.
Okay, we talked earlier about how the root of kind of all of our problems is self-image. Mm-hmm. Explain.
Okay, so think about this. If you are starting a business or you're in a career now and you are wanting a promotion or you're desiring to be in a relationship with a partner, if you do not have a high self-image, meaning you don't see yourself in a positive way, you don't feel good about yourself, people will reflect that back to you. So if you're critical of yourself, you're going to find yourself in jobs where people are critical of you. They're beating you up. They're hard on you. No one is ever going to see your value because you don't feel your value. If you don't feel hot and sexy, they're not going to think you're hot and sexy. I have lived this, like every single relationship, again, that I've had until I healed this, people would tell me how my nose looked big, my like skin. At one point I had really bad acne. They'd make fun of my acne, like whatever it is. I was all doing those things to myself and they were literally just reflecting to me how I felt about myself. So anyway, once I healed that, I started realizing like self-image literally plays into every single thing in your life. So if you want a better career, you want to get promoted, well, where's your self-image? Do you feel valuable? If you don't feel valuable, why am I going to promote you? I'm not going to feel your value. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But anyway, yeah, self-image gets you whatever you want. It helps you get, again, a better job, a relationship, feeling better about yourself. I could go on for years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kaisha spied on one of my calls earlier where I was talking to a client who was expressing some cringe. She's a career coach and she was expressing some cringe and sharing her own story, which was like burnout, health problems. and you kind of clock that of like, yeah, it's her self-image. So if it's somebody like that listening, it's like, yeah, I want to post, I want to put myself out there, but I don't know, I'm feeling cringe, it feels weird. Like, how do you improve your self-image to a point where you can feel comfortable putting yourself out there?
Oh, a great question. Okay, so we want to start with like little tweaks to the brain, right? Because obviously the goal is to change your thoughts, and that's easier said than done. That's like, oh, obviously change my thoughts, but the brain's very stubborn. It's always trained to go towards the negative. What I've started doing is the first tool I will give you is start an attribute list in your phone. List out 125 attributes about yourself. It sounds silly, but what it's doing is it's connecting you to your innate value. Like, oh, I'm beautiful. I'm good at this. I'm good at that. 125 sounds simple. It's like, oh yeah, I'll do that now. No. Like 125 words and you sit and do that, you're like, I have 3 in my head right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it gets you to like start seeing yourself differently. And then once you can do that, it's helping the brain get behind your skill set, your value, and it helps you raise that self-image. I also have a free self-image journal where I have a bunch of journal prompts that anyone can download at any time to get it started. But that's like the first tool I'll give people to like really get them to start thinking differently and just to see themselves a little bit differently. Another one I like to do is like when you're going to the restroom, when you're washing your hands, look in the mirror and give yourself one compliment. I don't care what it is. Your eyelashes look good. Your skin tone looks nice. Like whatever it is, do not leave the mirror until you can give yourself one nice compliment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's difficult at first if you have a really low self-image because you're like, I'm not used to doing this. It's uncomfortable. But after you do it over and over again, it starts to become who you are. Then you feel better. And then, it grows from there.
What about people that are like, well, but I give, and like it's selfish to take care of myself, or like it's selfish to be complimenting myself like that? What would you tell them?
Okay. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. So self-love is the ability to put yourself first, right? We are taught in society that it's so selfish to put yourself first, but no, it's not, because you can go run around and give all the live long day. No one's going to give to you. You know why? Because your self-love level is in the toilet. Again, people reflect to you your internal world, right? So if your self-love level is at a 14%, they're not going to be coming around doing you favors. You're going to find yourself depleting yourself because your cup is empty. Give, and no one's giving back to you. So then what happens? Now your self-image is low because no one's giving you what you gave them. You're upset, whatever. How you can raise this and start to see that it's not selfish is realizing, like, how are you going to help these people if your self-love level is in the trash can?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you have a family, like I have a family, right? So I can't be giving to my daughter, giving to my partner, and then what? I'm depleted. I can't give them anything else. So one of my favorite tools that I give to everyone is before you do anything for someone else, what's one thing you can do for yourself? And it doesn't have to be anything drastic. So my daughter will be like, Mommy, can you get me some milk? I'm like, sure. Before I hand her that milk, I tell myself, what's one thing I can do for myself right now? And it can be simple. Sometimes it's just taking a deep breath and being like, Kaisha, you got this. Maybe it's like, Kaisha, I'm so proud of you for booking a new client today, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's taking a sip of water, but just doing one thing for yourself. And then you do that all day long. You're going to see your self-love level raise. You're able to give more because your self-love, you're taken care of, right? And then you're going to see people start to put you first because now you're putting you first. They're going to start putting you first and doing the things for you that you've desired that they did for you all along. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love how actionable that is. That's really helpful.
Thank you.
Our next cheat code is if you want to change your physical appearance, you can actually do that through energy work.
Yes. So I had heard this before and I'm like, okay. What it is I kind of talked about this earlier. If you have been going to the gym for years and years and years and you're like, I have this, 10 pounds that won't go away in my stomach. This is just an example. And maybe you've been on every diet under the sun and nothing works. You have to like start focusing internally, like what's going on? What are your thoughts about yourself? So if you are always beating yourself up, telling yourself you're not good enough, whatever, your body will literally hold on to that extra fat because it protects you. Because if you think about like chronic illness, like breast cancer or something like that, that's holding on to anger for like years. It's not like you were angry at someone one night, woke up the next day with breast cancer, but I'm talking like years and years and years. Anyway, so that's the extra form of fat is your body's way of protecting it. So that's one way of like losing weight. But also if you have a lot of like trauma, you'll hold on to inflammation. So when I first went through this whole like spiritual awakening, if you will, I shed a bunch of trauma and limiting beliefs. The inflammation in my face, I look like a new person. You can go look on my Instagram or TikTok, but like I was so inflamed. Like I looked 30 pounds heavier just because of all the inflammation and like trauma that I was holding on to. But literally, again, back to raising my self-image, it all stems back there. Once I raise my self-image, raise my self-love, I don't look like the same person. It's insane. Let me preface, I have had a rhinoplasty 2 years ago, so don't look at my nose, but everything else is just inflammation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. And it's wild that it can happen. Yeah, like face, body, like all these parts of your. I also find that when you're doing healing work or self-love, you are more tapped into like your own self-expression. So you're like
Totally
expressing your physical appearance in a way that's more true to you rather than like maybe what other people wanted for you. And that can definitely help.
Totally. And I know like I dealt with body dysmorphia. So when you're first getting into this work, you're like, okay, but how do I love my body even though it's 10 pounds heavier? My stomach looks bigger than I want it. What I had to do was like look in the mirror and be like, okay, I can't love my stomach right now for how it looks, but can I love it for the function that it's providing? I can. Thank you, stomach, for, digesting my food, whatever you want to say. Once I found myself loving that body part, like, oh, I do love my stomach. Look at all the benefits it's providing me. I swear to God, in like 3 months, those 10 pounds were gone. I had my 6-pack and I was like, that's what I needed this whole time. It wasn't the 9,000 abs I was doing. Mind blowing.
Yeah, you can't hate yourself into a hot body.
You can't. And that's what I thought, like going back to like competitive cheer and dance, like that's the world I grew up in. You would see all these like tiny girls and I'm like, I need to work harder. So I would be like beating myself up, like you need to work harder, you're not doing enough, whatever. You can't hate yourself into a good body.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You can hate yourself into inflammation and burnout. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah. Period. Okay, our next cheat code is clocking positive moments. I've done a few one-on-ones with Kaisha, and this is something that you had me do that has been so incredibly helpful. So how do you start doing this? Why do you need to start doing this? Like, who is this for?
Oh, this is for everyone. Okay, so here is where the clocking moments comes in, is our brain is very tricky. It has to be, if you want to reprogram something in your life, you have to change your thoughts, right? But you have to prove your brain that the new thoughts that you're trying to think are true. So our brain always goes
Let me stop you. So you can't just say, I'm rich, and not actually have like clocking the moments of, or like I'm beautiful, but then not actually recognizing when you feel beautiful.
Yes, great question. So that's why affirmations don't work. You can look in the mirror all the live long day and say, I'm beautiful, I'm rich, I'm rich. Your subconscious brain's going, no, you're not. No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not. So you're working against yourself. However, let's go on the I'm rich part. You're trying to bring in more money. Clock how you're already abundant. So I always tell everyone, start a note section on your phone, title it your first name. You are abundant. You'll clock micro moments of how you're abundant. Maybe it's, and these are micro, right? It doesn't need to be anything drastic. I found a penny on the ground. Someone bought me coffee. Someone bought my lunch. Whatever makes you feel abundant, what you're doing is you're bringing in this feeling. There's a universal law called the law of focus. So what you're focusing on, you're getting more of. So the more you focus on this, the more you're going to call in. And then with you clocking it, you're retraining your brain that you are abundant. Once you do this enough, it becomes a non-declarative memory. And then that becomes who you are. That's your identity. And then you just think abundantly, right? Subconsciously, versus going like, I'm lack, I have nothing, whatever. So it's a good way to reprogram your brain. You can do it for anything. It doesn't even have to be abundance. It could be for if you want to do like self-image work, if you want to do like fear of being seen, it's safe to be seen. But just clocking those micro moments of how it's safe, how whatever. You're reprogramming. It's life-changing.
It gives some examples on safe to be seen, because there's so many people that listen to this podcast that are like, I want to start creating content, or maybe I am, but I'm like afraid to share this story or this part of me. How can they start to clock that it is safe to be seen?
Great question. Maybe you go to, again, we focus on the micro moments, because if you try to focus on like the big ones, it's just like that's going to overwhelm everyone. Think of the micro moments. Maybe you go into Starbucks and 3 men turn their head to look at you. Oh, it's safe to be seen. Maybe you go to the grocery store and a man holds the door open for you. Oh, he saw you. It was safe to be seen. And maybe you do post that video and you get 400 views and everyone was like, oh, you look stunning. That was a great message. It's safe to be seen. So it's just finding those little moments. And again, the more you clock those micro moments, the more you're going to find. And then the more it programs into your energy. And then before you know it, you do feel good posting. I've been there too. It took me 6 months, honestly, to be like, okay, I can post. It's safe.
Yeah, what was your journey of content creation? Like, how did you overcome that fear?
Well, I just started posting, to be honest. And I look back now, and I was so robotic, right? Because I was like, I don't want to show too much personality, because what if this person thinks this? And whatever. But that's how I started clocking the micro moments, was being like, oh, I posted and no one said anything. And then as I started posting and seeing myself on camera, I'm like, okay, you can have a personality. Like, it's fine. And if people don't like it, they don't like it. But it just, honestly, it came from me trial and error. Posting, seeing what worked, what didn't. You could scroll back to my TikTok like 2 years ago. I'm not the same person the way I talk. Like, I was so robotic. Cringe, if you will. But like, look at me now, you know?
Yeah, two things you said that I think are really important. One is that you just have to post. Like, this is what I tell everyone. You start with something so small. Maybe that's just like
Yes.
posting an Instagram story once a week when you get coffee and it's just the coffee, right? And then maybe the next time your face is in it. And then maybe the next time you have text over it. Maybe the next time is a video where you're talking. And then the next time maybe you bring it to like Instagram, but you hide it from your feed.
Yeah.
And then maybe the next time you have like a video post, like you can slowly work into it. The purpose is just like showing up and practicing that. And then I love that you are talking about clocking the wins on every single one of my calls with my clients. I always force them to be like, tell me your win, no matter how small. Like, even if it's just I showed up today, or I posted it and I got 100 views, or I half finished my post. Because it is so easy to let your brain, like our brains have a bias towards pessimism and negativity.
Yes.
So it's so easy for our brain to think about like that one post that didn't perform well, or that person that didn't like you or whatever, rather than all of the amazing wins that are happening. But I think we also need to reframe what a win is. Like, a win could be a micro win. Like, clocking those moments could be a micro moment. It literally could be like some random person I don't know liked it. And that's cool. Because look, a stranger. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, it doesn't have to be 1 million views to be a success. Like, could you imagine if like, say you're mad because you got 200 views. What if you had a live workshop and 200 people show up?
Yeah.
Are you going to be mad that 200 people show up? No, you're going to be fucking ecstatic. You're like, 200 people? But we're so like, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like 200 doesn't seem like a lot, and 2 million
We're like
does.
desensitized.
Desensitized, thank you. I'm like, what's the word? Yeah, to views.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
And you'll never get to that 2 million unless you're like appreciating the tiny.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you go back to like fear of being seen, if you don't feel comfortable posting to 200 people, what are you going to do when 2 million people see your post, you know? Are you going to like go in and hibernate? Or are you going to fucking own it and show up and be like, hell yeah, this is my moment?
Most people do hibernate. Like, most people I work with, they'll be like, oh, Courtney, I got this massive win. I finally went viral. This got 3 million views.
Yeah.
And then they hide and I don't hear from them for 2 months. I don't see anything they're doing. And they like crawl into a hole. And I'm like, are you good?
You're like, hello?
You good? But it's because like your body doesn't feel safe to be seen by that many people.
Yeah. And it's interesting too. I don't know if you've seen this feature for like everyone on Instagram, for everyone that's like scared to be seen. Instagram has a feature right now and it's trial. So it sends out, if you post a reel, you make it and you're like, I don't want my friends and family to see this, my followers, whatever. You can click trial. It sends it out to everyone. That it's not going to get shown to anyone that follows you or anyone in your network. It's just going out to people that don't follow you. So what do you have to lose? People that don't even know you, you're posting to. And then if you choose, then it gives you the option to like choose to show it to your feed. If you want to, cool. If not, cool, you know?
Wait, I love that. And I haven't tried trial reels, so I'm going to try it.
It's actually really good because I've been testing it. I like to test things out, but it's like I'll post it trial and then it'll get sent out to say like 2,000 people. And then it's 2,000 people that have never viewed my content. So I'll get new followers, whatever. And then I'll just go ahead and post it on my feed anyway, because it's something I was going to post regardless.
Does it show up in your feed? Like in your reels or whatever?
So you'll have, it has like a trial folder. If it's in the trials, it doesn't show up on your reels. But there's an option. You can go in and say it has 2,000 views. And you're like, oh, let me just go ahead and show it on my page. Then you just click, there's like a button you click and it says share to feed.
Okay, damn, I'm going to try this right after.
Yeah.
I'm going to try my trial reel.
My hack.
Okay, our next cheat code is, one sec, where's our next cheat code?
The evil laugh.
The world, this is hard because this was really hard for me to understand. The world is one big giant mirror of how we treat ourselves.
Yes. I know this one, when I first heard this, I was like, but what do you mean? Because we're told, like, treat people how you want to be treated. And, like, sure, be kind to people. I'm not saying, like, don't do that. What it is there's a universal law called the law of correspondence. What this means is our internal world reflects into our reality. So I call it our creator field. So think of like a big giant bubble around you. However you think, feel, and see yourself is what you're programming into your energy. Whatever's in your energy is how people treat you. So if you go back to my example of, think of someone in your life that has been just like super critical of you. It could be a job, a boyfriend, a parent, whatever. Think back to that time. How are you being critical to yourself? And then it's like a aha moment, like, oh. And I'm not saying like if someone was like abusing you, whatever, I'm not saying like it's your fault. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying like, oh, okay, why were we a match for that? Let's just think about, oh, I'm critical of myself. Let me just change my thoughts. And so that's when I started like applying it. I'm like, oh, well, if I can just, shift this about me, shift my energy, well, then I don't have to get treated like that anymore. And so like people who were so critical of me are not criticizing me anymore because I'm not criticizing myself. So that's like one way. I have a daughter, and anytime she's being chaotic, I will so I'm an intuitive, so I can just like channel her energy, her higher self. I'm like, what is going on? How is this reflecting me in some way? 9 times out of 10, it's like I'm beating myself up. So as humans, right, like we're our own worst like critics. And most of the time it's like me beating myself up in business. Like I think I should be doing more. And it's like, I'm doing the most. Like, please. So it's nice when I see her being chaotic. So I'm like, oh, well, what am I doing? How am I doing this to myself? I'm being chaotic to myself. I'm beating myself up, whatever. But yeah, the easiest way is just like think about how someone's making you feel and then think how some way you're doing it to yourself. So that's my like tip for everything. If someone's like really rude to me, I'm like, okay, how did that make me feel? How am I in some way, shape, or form doing this to myself? And then being like, okay, I see. I'm not saying that it's your fault they were rude to you. It's not. But it's just like thinking like, okay, well, maybe I could change this way I'm speaking to myself. Or maybe I need to change this about the way I'm talking to myself or whatever.
It's also what you're putting up with. Like,
totally.
Something that really blew my mind recently, like in the last few years, was like, Courtney, your consent, like this does not apply to children or if someone is like physically sequestering you, but like you are consenting to everything in your life. That boss you have that's toxic that you hate, you're consenting to stay in that relationship.
100%.
You can leave at any time. Of course, it might be scary. Of course, there are consequences of leaving, but by staying, you are consenting. By being in this friendship where there's this girl that's really toxic, you are enabling the cycle of abuse, and you are consenting to be an enabler of the cycle of abuse. Like you are somebody treats you shitty, you are like over and over and over, you're consenting to that. Like you can remove your consent at any time. It might be scary, but like that's, I don't know, so important to get out of like the victim mentality.
100%. I was in multiple physically, mentally, emotionally abusive relationships. I've been trigger warning raped. I've been all of these things. And I could have sat in the victim mentality and been like, oh, poor, pitiful me. I can't believe this happened. Like, was it my fault it happened? No, but I chose to get my shit together and be like, I'm not going to give these people my power, because if I'm miserable the rest of my life because of what you did to me, I'm putting my happiness in your hands. I think the fuck not. I think I'm about to go blow the fuck up in my career and see you in the dust. You know what I mean? So it's like I started thinking differently and being like, oh, that's not going to faze me. Like, was it unfortunate? Sure, healed the trauma and did all of that, but like that's not going to hold me back, you know?
Yeah, you can alchemize it. You can take these like shitty things that have happened to you, share your story, and like make fucking bank.
For sure. Because like even I was cheated on recently in a relationship. And sure, like, was I pissed off? Absolutely. But again, you have to look within yourself. And why it was my own reflection was I didn't feel like a whole person. I was feeling like I was emotionally unavailable. So that was like my energy play into it. And instead of me hibernating and being like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing, I can't believe that happened to me, I was like, I'm about to get online and we're going to talk about it. And I did. And once I talked about how to heal it, I talked about all the things that I did. People were blowing me up in the comments and they were like, thank you so much. Like, I've been cheated on. I never wanted to talk about this because, it's my husband and I have kids and this. And I was so embarrassed. And I was like, this is like a common thing. Like, it's happening often. I don't know if it's necessarily we're taught or we just feel like we can't share because it's embarrassing, right? And then no one ever talks about the problems. We suppress. And you know how that goes, creates chronic illness, right? But if we would just all talk about our problems, I feel like the mean girls, I just want to talk about our problems. But literally, if we would just talk about it, like you're helping so many people by sharing your story, no matter how silly it is. Someone's been through it, like.
Yeah, I've almost made it a practice for myself of anytime something starts to feel cringe or shame, I like have to tell someone about it. I have to talk about it. I have to talk about it online. I have to like make a joke about it. Something to bring it to the surface because it just like festers. Yeah, so tell me about the chronic illness. Like you actually had a really fucking intense incurable chronic illness that you cured. Like how did you?
Yeah, so I had hypothyroidism. So to paint you a picture, I was 18 years old. It started out as hyper, and I was like 98 pounds. I'm 5'2", so like it's not crazy, but like I was a little skinny, right? Then I got to college. My diet did change, but like then I gained like 30 pounds in like a month. It was like weird. Like, okay, sure, I was eating terrible, but like 30 pounds, it was wild. So I started going to the doctor. I had no energy. I would literally wake up at 8 a.m., to go to my class and then come home and have to nap for 3 hours. My hair was falling out. My eyebrows were falling out. My tongue was swollen. It was just a mess. So I go to the doctors and the doctor's like, nothing's wrong with you. I'm like, the fuck do you mean? Like, I'm losing my mind. They sent me to a dietitian who, by the way, was like, oh, you just drink chocolate milk.
What?
Ma'am. So anyway, I finally, after going to the doctor for 6 months, they're like, oh, it's hypothyroidism. You're going to be on this pill the rest of your life. And I'm like, you've lost your mind. So I go to a holistic doctor in Dallas. Fabulous. He was giving me like natural supplements. And then once I started seeing him, I got into my intuitive work that I do. And I realized that for every physical symptom, there's an emotional root cause. So you break it down by symptom and then you can heal what you're going through. So you heal the emotional root, you're not going to have the physical symptoms anymore. So I had, again, hypothyroidism, and I broke everything down. It'd be different per person because it's based on symptom. But for me, my self-image was low. I felt like what I had to say wasn't valuable. I didn't feel like I was worthy of taking up space in the world. Again, this goes back to like, being raped, being in all these abusive relationships. And it's just like things that wore me down. But anyway, I didn't heal it overnight. Like I didn't wake up, oh, I worked through all my trauma. It took me probably 2 years to fully heal it. But now I'm on no medications at all. And I was told I would have to be on it the rest of my life to even like have energy to get through the day.
That's amazing.
I know, it's
that's
wild.
really incredible.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you. I know you shared this story, but I'm excited for you to share more because I talk to so many women that have autoimmune is like the most fucking metal crazy thing because it's like literally your body's attacking itself. It's like screaming for help that there's something there.
Yes, I was on like verge of Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune, where it's like your thyroid's attacking yourself.
Yeah.
I would have cured it regardless because, again, you heal the emotional root cause, you heal the physical cause, but still it was like, whoa, this is wild.
Yeah. What would you tell someone that's like still in that victim mode of like, a lot of people will come to me and being like, well, Courtney, it's easy for you to say because you're like a cute girl on the internet, or it's easy for you to say because you're like, whatever. You can say that about anyone. I can say, Kaisha, it's easy for you to say because you had access to a holistic doctor, like whatever. People will make all sorts of excuses,
Totally.
But like, what would you tell someone that is still in that victim mentality that like kind of wants to get out, but it's like, oh, what was me?
Honestly, I've had a few clients like this, like, oh, yeah, well, it's easy for you to say. I'm like, but it's not. Because I've been in your shoes. I have been at the lowest of lows where I thought I was never going to get out of it, to be honest. I have felt unworthy of taking up space, showing up online, like I was unworthy of a relationship. And like, I had to wake up. No one can do it for you. I can sit here and tell you all the live long day, like, oh, get out of victim mentality. You can do this. Until you believe it yourself and you've had enough, you're not going to change your life. And once you've had enough and you're like, okay, look, how is what I've gone through actually massively benefited me? I know that's tough to hear. Also, I'll go back to rape. How did that massively benefit me? Well, it got me the fuck out of my hometown. I would have stayed in hometown and I probably would have ended up a drug addict like everyone else that stayed there. But I didn't. I left. I moved. I made new friends. I moved on, right? It taught me not to trust people. Well, I don't want to say it taught me not to trust people, but to like not be as trusting, right? Because it ended up being like, a friend or someone that I thought was my friend, right? So it taught me, hey, be a little bit more like protective of your energy. It kind of taught me that everyone doesn't have my best interest. So it gave me a lot of life lessons. And until I was at my lowest of lows and I was like, okay, how did it massively benefit me? I never would have saw that. I would have stayed in the negative, like, oh, poor, pitiful me. But it's like, at some point you got to get out of your own head, get out of your own way, find the benefit, as difficult as that is. But there is a lesson in everything you're learning. It's just how you choose to see it,
Yeah, this is so important. I'm actually moving through this right now. I've been in victim mode over over my upbringing. I grew up in an abusive situation in a cult, and I for so many years I'm like, oh, but that happened to me and that's so mad. But now I'm like, I alchemize that, and it's like given me this career where I can share this with others. Like truly, you can alchemize any pain. You either let them continue to have power over you, or you're like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I'm taking back the reins.
Exactly. Because what do I look like giving you my power?
Period.
Please.
Okay. Our last cheat code is we don't manifest what we want. We manifest what we are. What does that mean?
So we manifest what we feel, which is what we are. But so let me give you a good example. Okay, you want money. But you think everyone in the world that has money is an asshole, and you think that money is the root of all evil. Well, riddle me how you're going to manifest money. Why? why would money come to you if you think it's evil?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like changing your thoughts around it. So if you want to manifest money, okay, well, is every person in the world that has money evil? No. Okay, well, if you were a millionaire, could you choose to donate a certain percentage to a foundation of your choice and help them? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so is the root of evil all money? Is the root of whatever I said?
Is money always the root of all evil?
There we go. Tongue twister. Like, is it? No, it's not. It's just an amplifier. So if you're an evil person, sure, it's going to amplify that. But if you're a good person and you're going to do good with it, it's an amplifier. It's what you are. So it's like people have this crazy mindset of like, they'll even go back to like childhood where it's like, oh, everything's too expensive. I can't have that. And it's kind of just reworking and debunking those beliefs. Like I grew up in a household where, oh, we can't afford that. And so like even now, sometimes I'll catch myself. I've worked through a lot of it, but I'll still catch myself like, "Ugh, I can't afford that. And then I'm like, it's $25. What do you mean? What do you mean? But it's like going back, when I was 7 years old trying to get something at the store. Mom's like, we can't afford that right now, honey. So it's just like working through like, is it true that you can't afford it? Or are you in like a limited mindset? I'm not saying go out and spend your whole money on like craziness, but just like rewiring the mindset that you have around it. Anyway, manifesting what we feel. So if you feel abundant, you feel like money's flowing to you, you feel like it's easy to make, you're going to create more of that versus the opposite of money's the root of all evil. Money's hard to make. You get the gist.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so important on money because I think money is like one of the most difficult things to like alchemize and overcome because we don't have a lot of good examples. Like
Totally.
we can see, oh, I have a great example of this relationship and I can overcome this relationship thing, or I have a great example of this person in my life that's like physically healthy. You need to find examples of money because our prominent, like famous examples are not great examples. So you need to find examples in your life, find examples on social media of people that are doing great things with money. But I think of money like an entity that you need to form a relationship with. And if it was you, if you are embodying the entity of money, and I'm like, Kaisha, I hate you. You've never been there for me. You're the worst friend ever. You suck. And you're literally the root of all evil. And everybody that touches you gets like infected by your toxic shit. And then the next day I'd be like, Kaisha, why don't you come over for dinner?
Yeah.
You're like, because you're talking shit about me yesterday. Like that's what you would say. You wouldn't be like, oh, I'm so excited. No.
Yeah.
If you're talking to money like that, like
exactly,
of course money's gonna be like, well, fuck you. Like
I'm not going to her house. Fuck her. Yeah.
Exactly. Like you gotta rewire that shit. It's really hard. Do you know about like money energetic minimums?
Yes. So everyone has an energetic minimum and an energetic maximum. And your energetic minimum can be in the negative. So it's like if you look at it month to month, you have an energetic minimum and a maximum programmed into your energy. The minimum is going to be like the minimum that you could see yourself ever making that month. So say it's $2,000, right? And then you have your maximum of say it's $10,000. So then you're going to end up, you're not going to go over 10, you're not going to below 2. That's like your leeway, I guess. But anyway, that's the energetic minimum maximum. Now they can change too, right? Because if you're trying to grow money, you want to grow your maximum. You don't want to stay at 10K the rest of your life. And it's just rewiring, feeling safe because a lot of people, they don't even feel safe with money. Like if I wrote you a $400,000 check right now and gave it to you, like would you feel safe or would you be like, ugh, and like cringe up,
Yeah, you're right. My whole body would probably tense up.
Yeah.
But totally. if you paid me like $2,000 or something,
yeah,
like
you wouldn't bat
I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just like reworking like what you're comfortable with. And a lot of people are like, oh, if I got $1 million today, I'd be excited. It's like, would you, or would your body tense up? And then you're like, I'm gonna lose it tomorrow, and it turns into that whole thing. Like, people that win the lottery and they blow it in a year, like that's why. Because they don't know how to hold on to it. They're scared of it. And it's like they just like spend it because they're scared of it. Which is very interesting.
It is interesting. Okay, so I took on this like part-time gig that was like a fuck ton of money. It was like $100 an hour for like 4 hours. I don't know, whatever. This was a few years ago. It was $13,000 a month. And I know I worked for them for like a year and it like raised my energetic minimum to $13,000 where like even if I didn't do anything else.
Right, you were somehow meeting that.
Somehow. But at first it was really scary. I was like, oh, this is like a lot of money. I don't know how to handle it, whatever. And then I've like raised my energetic minimum of money since then. But it's crazy. Like now it's like my business will bring in like $30,000 and I will literally like not even launch something one month, not even do anything. But somehow because like an invoice is late, that just happens to be like
right.
I didn't go one single month in 2024 without making less than $30,000 in my business. And like I didn't even do shit some of the months.
Yeah.
And, like it literally was raising
like
my energetic
programming your energy. Yeah.
And it will literally be like the bank account is at like $19,000 until like the very last day of the month. And then I'll check it the next day and I'll be like, what the fuck?
Somehow all these payments come in and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I forgot about those, you know?
Literally. I'm like, what?
Or like
That's crazy.
one time, this was wild. So my energetic's around like 15 and I think I was around like 10. And so like I had a client I forgot about like months and months ago. Like she was supposed to pay me. Something happened. She couldn't pay me. Forgot about her.
Mm-hmm.
She showed up, paid me in full. And I was like, oh my God, I just hit my... Like, she came out of nowhere for me to hit my maximum. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Loved that.
Love that. Well, I actually used to have a negative energetic minimum.
Oh, okay.
Or like it evened out. Like I worked with Kaisha on this, by the way.
Uh-huh.
If you guys are struggling with debt, go do a session with Kaisha because your session really is what like got me out of debt. Basically, I'd been in debt $32,000 2 different times. And even though I was like making money in my business or like making money, whatever, I still would have always be $32,000 in debt. And like $32,000 in debt, paid it all off, got back in debt $32,000. And when we were working together, we kind of identified that like I had a lot of guilt around this number because my parents were like, we paid for your college and it was $32,000. So you owe us like X, Y, and Z. And so we had to do some work around like uncovering that. But it is like I felt really safe and comfortable having debt. And whenever I like zeroed out and stopped having debt, it felt really uncomfortable to step into that. So even though I didn't want to have debt, it was more comfortable to have it.
Totally. It's just like a mindset. Like you're used to seeing it, right? And so it's like, oh, like it's a good feeling, obviously, but still, if you're uncomfortable, like it's just going to come right back. Or if you're like always focused on debt, because again, the law of focus is what you're focusing on, you're getting more of. So like say, for example, you're shopping for a red car, right? And you've never seen a lot of red cars, but now that you're focused on red car, you see red cars everywhere. Same thing. So if you're focusing on debt, you're going to see it grow over time. Versus if you flip it and you're like, oh, I'm not going to focus on this. I'm going to focus what I'm bringing in. You'll see it slowly start to diminish. But yeah, to your point, like if you're like an energetic match for $32,000 in debt, you're going to hold on to it no matter what. You can pay it off. 2 months later, it'll be back.
Well, it's
crazy.
not back thanks to you, Kaisha.
Woo! We love that.
I have another cheat code or maybe just something to think about. And that is a good way to know that you're not like an energetic match for money, for good things, for opportunities to come to you is if you can't take compliments.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Like if you can't receive a compliment, like if you're uncomfortable, like, you know, oh my God, I used to do this. This is why I laugh at it. But like, you know, when you're wearing a dress and someone's like, oh my God, I love your dress. Instead of being like, oh my God, thank you. I'm like, oh, it has pockets. You know what I mean? Thanks, it has pockets.
Or people be like, oh, thanks, I got it on sale. It was only $40.
Yeah, from Target or whatever. And like, because we're so uncomfortable with receiving. And like in my relationship, oh my God, my boyfriend, he used to always go out and he'd get me like Lululemon leggings and like really nice gifts. And I'd be like, I was mean. I'd be like, don't fucking buy me. I can buy my own stuff. And it's like, it was because I was so uncomfortable receiving. So I had to like open that up because yeah, how's money going to come to me if I don't want to receive anything?
Yeah, the first thing I ask people if they're like, I want to manifest more money, I'm like,
are you open to receiving?
How do you take a compliment? If somebody is like, hey, you did this really well, what would you say? If somebody's like, oh, you look nice today, like, what would you say? And most of the time they're like, oh, I would probably get really uncomfortable. But they usually will be like, well, it's because it's not about me. It's because I don't want, I'm like, it is fucking about you. Anyway, if you're having a hard time manifesting money, maybe just start with accepting compliments and not pushing them away.
Yeah. Step number 1, receive a compliment. Let me know how that goes.
Yeah.
Get to the point where you're like, okay, I like compliments. That was great. Thank you. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Just receive it.
Thank you. Or even just like somebody gives you a discount. Somebody gives you like something. Somebody's giving you something tiny instead of being like, oh no, I don't deserve this. Like, thank you.
And you don't have to give them anything back.
Yeah.
You know, that was a big thing for me too. Is like I would have one of my friends be like, oh, here's access to my course. I'm like, oh, well, here's access to mine. It's like, just thank you, you know?
Yeah. Period.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all of our cheat codes. But Kaisha, what type of people do you want to work with? People that are listening to this are like, all right, Kaisha, I want to work with you. I need to like work through my energetic shit. Like, what are the types of things that they can work with you on?
Totally. Money's always a good one. Fear of being seen. Honestly, if you have any blocks in anything, like I'm really good at using my intuition to channel what your perceived block is. So I'll have a lot of people come to me and they're like, you know, it's, I'm making this up, but like fear of being seen. And then it actually ties into their self-image somehow. So like maybe you think it's one thing, but it's actually another. Anyway, but I'm using my intuition. I'm taking the guesswork out of it. So I'm able to break it down for you, give you tangible tools to heal it. Obviously, self-image is a big one. I've said that a million times. Moms, I love working with moms. I have a program called MILF U, and I just love helping moms heal their shit. So basically, if you're ready to up-level your life in some way and you feel blocked or stuck, like, let me help you. I'd love to help.
Beautiful. Well, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Kaisha, Kaisha Slaughter, like slaughter a pig. I know it's aggressive, but it's what I was born with. And TikTok, Kaisha Slaughter. And then my website, kaishaslaughter.com. So
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kaisha. You're awesome. Thanks for coming all the way to Austin.
oh my
for
God,
me.
of course.
Okay, y'all, if you liked this episode, you would love my Patreon, okay? You get exclusive access to me, exclusive content, tons of other resources, and a lot of juicy shit, okay? So I hope to see you on my Patreon.